Hey everyone, welcome to another fun deep dive, this time focusing on the classic version of Espio. When I do deep dives, I like to start with the design history. Unfortunately, when it comes to the history of Espio's creation, there's not much to work with. The only definitive thing I could find was that he was created by Takumi Miyake, but beyond that, not much else. Now, while his creation history is rather lacking, there's at least something regarding his role in Knuckles Chaotix and how it changed in development. A thing to know about Knuckles Chaotix is that it's the English version's title. Its original Japanese title is just Chaotix, with the subtitles featuring Knuckles Echidna, which can also be seen on the game's title screen in both versions. However, instead of featuring Knuckles the Echidna, some of the earlier prototype builds for Chaotix had the title screen showcase featuring Espio the Chameleon instead, which means there might have been plans for Espio to have a bigger role. At some point, the idea was axed, but it's not like Espio's importance was entirely diminished. In every playthrough, Espio will always be your first partner, showcasing just a smidge more importance than everyone else. But anyways, that's it for the creation history. Like I said, there wasn't much. However, we do have his actual character to go over. I'm going to start this section off by looking at the English localization and then the original Japanese version of the manuals. In the English manual, he's stated to be ill-tempered and needs to be reminded of his manners by Charmy, but he does value friendship and freedom. He also has a tendency to commit to his actions, which could be seen as diligence or stubbornness depending on the situation. Fairly basic, but enough there for the start of a rounded character. A character who's rough around the edges, but is a good person nonetheless. Now for the Japanese version. In the Japanese manual, he's a private detective with combat training and recon skills, alongside a serious personality and a strong sense of justice. He has an interest in legendary civilizations that causes them to be jealous of Knuckles. I'm guessing because Knuckles has a direct connection to a lost civilization himself, Espio envies that connection because he can never have it. Or it could be that Knuckles living on Angel Island has easier access to his lost history than Espio ever could. Also, he dislikes Eggman, which I'm going to speculate is because of Eggman's actions in Sonic 3K. You know, carbon bombing Angel Island and ruining ancient relics with the machinery, which I would assume someone who has interests in the past would not be happy about. Honestly, Espio reminds me of Lara Croft. I know it's a weird connection to make, but the whole interest in lost culture with the addition of a no-nonsense attitude and combat skills just reminds me of her. But let's see how these manual bios compare to the game's sprites and animations. His sprites, while subdued, still have personality packed inside. At first, he just appears to be serious with a no-nonsense attitude and expression. Even his teetering animations get somewhat serious. But the times he does smile, it has this smug aura to the whole thing that just changes it. He's now a very confident looking character. I quite like it. It's proof that you don't need extravagance to make a character's sprite animations interesting, but rather a clear message and intent. That gets us to his final game appearance, Sonic the Fighters. Unfortunately, Sonic the Fighters isn't a fighting game to have individual character stories, instead having an overarching story, which is just the characters fight for the right to jump on a rocket and beat up Eggman. Espio's there too. You could argue his goals are either slightly noble, truly believing that he has the best chance of stopping Eggman, or more competitive, wanting to prove that he's the best, and stopping Eggman is more of a bonus. Either one works with the confident personality portrayed before. Also, I guess because he doesn't like Eggman, he just might want to beat him up because he just doesn't like him. Yeah, a bit lackluster, I know, but hey, the real meat for these characters is in the comics. His first appearance on Archie had him a bit corny making puns, but at least it made him fun. After that, I swear watching paint dry is more interesting than this chameleon. I'm not kidding when I say his contribution to most stories is just providing exposition or being there to remind you that Knuckles is the main character. Occasionally, he will provide the role of a mediator and attempt to be a voice of reason towards Vector, which just boils down to telling him to get over his beef with a different character, which feels a bit biased when that character is also just as antagonistic towards Vector, even being the one to start altercations with him at times, but they're never called out, which in turn makes it look like Espio is shifting all the responsibility of moving on and making amends onto Vector, and that has the unintended effect of making Espio not only boring, but partially unlikable. And unfortunately, that's kind of it. I try not to be entirely negative because I don't want to be that type of creator, But aside from Espio having one moment where he was able to catch Sonic by utilizing his invisibility, which, hey, does show he can be cunning, he's a bland character who does absolutely nothing of note. Most of his entire existence could be replaced with a notepad that the characters refer back to occasionally. Let's hope he's more interesting in Fleetway. In most of the run of Fleetway, this poor bastard is the exposition fairy again, but this time I don't mind it because of one important detail: he has a personality. He sounds annoyed to be explained or pointing out shit, which makes the fact that his main contribution to this series is mostly exposition actually enjoyable. Espio's personality definitely makes up for his lack of significance. I know it sucks to say that he didn't do much, but that doesn't mean he was poorly written or has no character. Far from it. There's times that pop up now and again when he's fighting that shows a competitive and also immature side of him in relation to Mighty, wanting to prove that he is just as strong, if not stronger than him. This rivalry does lead to some childish moments, like when he asked a goon who between Mighty and himself hit him harder, and then deluded himself into thinking the poor guy's moments of pain before passing out was him saying Espio. But while childish, this rivalry never prevents either one from working together. Mostly. There is a moment where Vector can't lead because he got turned into a monster, which led to Espio's attempting to be a temporary leader, and he's bad at it, failing to convince Maya to even listen to him, and also just winding up trying to do everything himself with no luck, showing that while he might be the one to make sure everyone is on the same page, his attitude and lack of people skills holds him back in some regards. Now, while no character is safe from Espio's attitude, Charmy is on a different level of vitriol when it comes to his sass. He is mean to Charmy, outright calling him an idiot and making no attempts at sugarcoating his contempt for this bee. He is even ready to beat the shit out of him if he becomes too annoying. This disdain even extends to his Charmy's family, absolutely disgusted by them. But even then, when Charmy called the team out for not explaining something important to Sonic, he actually backed him up and agreed with him. And in another moment, he was worried about Charmy when he was in mortal danger, and wanted but couldn't save him, showing that while he may dislike and have slim patience for Charmy's antics, he still considers him a part of the team and even cares about him. Even if Fleetway Espio didn't get to do much in terms of the story, he was still a fun character with some depth regardless. He's the one there to keep the group grounded and focused, but also has a bit of an immature competitive side, along with a bit of an attitude that makes him abrasive in some situations. At the same time, there are moments to show that despite that, he is still a good person deep down, which all in all made him a fun character to read. And that was a deep dive into Classic Espio. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if there's any characters you want me to look over, please let me know. In the meantime, thanks for watching.